Like she's gonna need a full-time job just to keep the part-time job.
I know.
But I think it'll be a good experience for her.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, nothing you guys would.
No, yeah, it would be great for her. She just wants to be with her kids.
Understandable.
Yep. That's what happens.
Decisions.
Yeah.
Well, lack of better words, she's a big girl now, so.
Yep. That's what I told her. Like, this is when you start making big decisions. Good luck.
We love you, but.
Yep. Yep.
Tag, you're it.
Got to do your own.
Just game on.
Good evening, it's 6 o'clock. Let's call to order our city council meeting for July 15th, 2026. And ask everyone to follow Councilmember Hernandez in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You would rise, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, is there any conflicts with agenda items today that need to be disclosed?
Nope.
No.
No.
Thank you. Looking for comments or approval of the minutes of our July 1st, 2026 meetings.
I'll move to approve the minutes of our July 1st, 2026 council meetings.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please, Joey.
Councilmember Reese,
Yes.
Councilmember Heiner,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Thank you. For general business item number 1, there's a reason we have amazing people in the audience today for the presentation of the Chubbuck Police Department's Distinguished Service Medal. From the time to Chief Sasser for this.
Okay. Is this working? Okay, there we go. Mayor, City Council, thank you for carving out a minute for us to recognize Staff Sergeant Butterfield. If I have to stand up here, Rob, you have to come stand up here with me, so. Before I get into this, we're going to be presenting Staff Sergeant Butterfield with the Distinguished Service Medal. And I want to explain what that is. So the Distinguished Service Medal may be presented by the department to a member who demonstrates unwavering and long-term exceptional dedication and outstanding service to the department, the community, and the law enforcement profession. So with that said, I just want to mention that anybody can nominate someone in our department for award. It can be anybody from the city, the police department, the community. Anybody that chooses to nominate somebody in our department for an award, they have the right to do that, but it's not that simple. Just because you're nominated doesn't mean you get that award. So I kind of want to explain that a little. Some of you are aware of this, some of you in the crowd aren't, so I just kind of want to explain it again. I know some of the council has heard this before, but we have what we call an awards committee in the Chubbuck Police Department. So if somebody's nominated for an award, that nomination goes to our awards committee, which is comprised of 4 people within our agency, and they're not all sworn officers. There's some civilian staff on that committee as well. So what essentially happens is the award goes, or the nomination goes to the awards committee, and they look at a set of criteria in our policy to see if the award of that medal is appropriate or if it's not. And if they decide either way, they send it to the chief after that, which is me in this case, and I look at the paperwork and I decide if there needs to be further investigation into it or if there doesn't. And in this case, the nomination was good by the committee and I agree. So, which brings us to here. So that's why we're here tonight. So with that said, for over 19 years, I've worked with Staff Sergeant Butterfield and I've had a dynamic relationship with him. So there was a time when he was my supervisor. a long stint in time. And discipline's a strong word, but he's had to coach me before. So, and vice versa, which is a weird relationship. Probably never be able to say that about another member in our department. Well, I can guarantee I can't say that about another member in our department, but we've also had the opportunity over the years to share a couple adult beverages. Always with great, I don't know, but what's the right word? Always appropriately handled ourselves, okay? And I can say that I've learned a lot from this man. So, if you don't know, Sergeant Butterfield is also the recipient of 2 other medals from our department. And, which means he's currently the most decorated officer in the city of Chubbuck. I just thought that was an interesting point to point out. He probably didn't even think of that. So, those other 2 awards, or one is the Medal of Valor, which is the highest award in our department. And one of them is a Distinguished Unit Citation, which is awarded to a team for exceptional display of teamwork. So both of those awards were given to him while executing a high-risk search warrant with a team. At the time, it was the Chubbuck Police Department Special Response Team. And while they were serving that warrant, they were met with hostile gunfire. So 2 members of the Chubbuck Police Department were shot during that incident, and Staff Sergeant Butterfield was able to assist one of those members to safety and stay calm during that situation. And I thought it was important to mention that because it kind of supports the award we're giving tonight. So moving on from that, in October of 2023, Staff Sergeant Butterfield decided to retire as a division commander at the rank of lieutenant. 2 short months later, he decided that he was a glutton for punishment, and he decided he wanted to come and work for the Chubbuck Police Department again, and he agreed to come back as a staff sergeant. He's been working in our criminal investigations division ever since. So if you're doing the math, which I haven't given you, he's got over 30 years of service to our department. So I could go on and tell you a bunch of things that he's done while he's been with the department, but instead I'll say this. Staff Sergeant Butterfield has served several roles in our department, from being a brand new green officer to being a division commander and everything in between. What's more is that he truly cares about the victims in our community. I've witnessed firsthand how he effectively and professionally pushes and closes his felony caseload, and he's dealing with the worst of the worst in that division. So he's, at this moment in time, I can honestly say that no other member in our department is more deserving of this award than him. That includes myself. He's given over 30 years of his life to serving this department, city, and community, and I just thought it was important. Well, we, as a department, thought it was important to take a minute to recognize his commitment. So with that said, can we give him a round of applause? The last thing I'll say is we've tolerated each other well over the years. A lot of people don't think about this, but a working relationship, you spend a lot of time with those people. And over the last 19 years, we've spent a lot of time together, whether we recognize it or not. And, his wife has to spend the majority of the time with him, so she's going to pin him tonight. Anita, if you don't mind coming up and pinning Rob. This is my favorite part. With this, we also got a plaque for him that he can hang on his wall. Rob will probably shove it in his closet, knowing him. I'm gonna read the other half of this plaque that just kind of hangs next to it. So, for over 30 years, Staff Sergeant Butterfield has served our agency and community with exceptional dedication. Staff Sergeant Butterfield has been involved in several of our agency's notable investigations, and he has demonstrated a continual pattern of outstanding performance over an extended period of time. During his time with the Chubbuck Police Department, Staff Sergeant Butterfield received the Distinguished Unit Citation and the Medal of Valor, further demonstrating his outstanding service record. In October of 2023, Staff Sergeant Butterfield retired from law enforcement, only to return to our agency a short time later and continue serving our community with pride. Staff Sergeant Butterfield's tenacious, unwavering, and long-term commitment have contributed to accomplishing our agency's mission, and we are proud to present him with this Distinguished Service Medal. And I just want one more round of applause, please. I'd also like the city council and mayor to come down and get a picture if you don't mind. Brian, you can come too. And if you don't mind, Mayor, we'd like to step out with family and friends to the next room and take some more pictures. Okay.
Great, let's move to agenda item number 2, the FY27 budget request discussion. Council, I'm going to guide us through this. Through the budget discussions we've had so far, we've made the commitment to you to do all that we can to reduce our cost without reducing services. And today is kind of the culmination of that conversation. Not asking for any action, but just information providing to you and a discussion if you would like to have that tonight. The information that's in front of you as displayed on the screen now is actually a document that we've looked at previously. The left-hand side of this was the request highlights and the amounts. The right-hand side were what we called department delay requests. And so the staff and the department heads have already stepped up and identified opportunities that they could delay or forego some of those costs. So this is something that you have seen before. The first page we're looking at is relative to general fund operations. The second page is relative to our enterprise operations. The piece that's new today is on page 3 in the information that you have. And I've taken the opportunity to go back through and work one more time with department heads and then my thoughts as mayor on additional opportunities that we may have. And I want to present those to you today for consideration and discussion. The left-hand side of this sheet was the original highlighted request. The right-hand side represents what I believe is potential opportunities for us to have adjustments. The first line shows up there as a negative $25,000, but that's actually an add back in. I had originally proposed $50,000 for community beautification opportunities. I took that out. I'm asking for half of that to be put back in for a variety of reasons. As we've met with and had opportunities to talk with entities like the Portneuf Valley Pride, Am I saying that right, Cami? Is that the right organization? Those that do beautification in our communities, I want to have the opportunity to have matching funds if we needed to. If we chose to have another event, those types of things, it's just a little bit of money that I would like to have allocated for some of those community improvement type purposes. The second item is a consideration, at least a proposal that we may want to look at reducing our contributions. I know in the past, historically, those that have come in front of us, the other nonprofit organizations that have a need and provide valuable services in our community, if you recall, as we fund all of those one at a time, it doesn't seem to be that big of an issue, but when you add it together, it's a substantial amount of money. And I'm not strongly advocating that the $100,000 is the right number. I'm advocating that we set a limit on what that is, and then we prioritize those requests as they come in front of us, rather than openly fund each of them.
Yes.
The third item there is both a delay and a reduction in comp plan professional services. We do have a housing piece that I understand still needs a little bit of attention. It's probably not the highest priority. Some of that work is actually being done in this fiscal year. And so we think we can accomplish that with a reduction from the original request. As we move down through, our Parks Department is willing to forego their large commercial mower, so that's $115,000 that we can push forward. The capital planning that they list there, they talk about Stewart Playground. That is not an actual project in fiscal year 27. It is saving money for a future project. And to me, it didn't make sense that we budget the need for fund balance if we're just going to turn around and put it back into fund balance. And the last two items there are scoreboard replacements and some fencing that are associated with our baseball and softball programs. My intention there is that we seek sponsorships to help us fund those items. We've done that in the past. And so it's not a lot of money, but I think it's an opportunity for us to reach out to our community members, our businesses, and seek for sponsors for those functions.
I think that's possible to get those funded.
I do too. We've done it in the past. The total of that's $223,000, and I've put in the highlighted box at the bottom that prior to this process, we had a need of about $1.17 million of fund balance to fulfill our needs in fiscal year 27. This idea would reduce that to about $950,000. Again, I'm not asking for blessing approval. I'm sharing that with you so that when we get into our budget discussion in August, this will be part of what my desires and representation would be. So with that in mind, any conversation that you want to have about this now?
Thanks for giving us a head start on this.
Yeah.
To look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having all of the requests in one place with dollar amounts and is so helpful.
If you look at page 4 quickly, I didn't see any opportunity in our enterprise funds. So our water, sewer, sanitation, those funds, I think we need to honor those original requests. Now, Joe, if you drove back to page 3, I want to add one more comment to all of this. The 5th page, council, if you'll stay on page 3, but the 5th page in your packet is the 4 areas that combined, the 5 of us have identified as our short-term strategic priorities in our community. When you look at the information on sheet, it's actually on all of these, but I'm referencing it in sheet 3 that's being displayed. We have gone through the process to assign those line items to those priorities. For example, when we look at the requests from the police department for their mind-based software, those types of things, they align directly with our goal number 4 in public safety, making sure we have adequate training. That's just informational for you as we strive to align our goals with our resources. We do see it in that way. So we've put the SP 1, 2, 3, or 4 as a direct link to what we have identified as the priorities in our community. Any questions about that step or process?
That's awesome.
Pretty straightforward.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, we'll move to agenda item number 3, which is the 5-year projections that we've committed to work on the council's behalf. If you recall, if I may please just go back and do a little bit of a refresher there. Our goal was that in addition to looking at our line item budgets year by year, that we'd look at some long-range projections, specifically in the general fund, which we're operating in a deficit. So there's really 2 components to that. One of it is wage related, and Scott in HR took the lead on that piece. The other of it is all the operations and revenue and expenses, and Eric has taken the lead on that portion of it. Scott is actually at a family reunion camping in Island Park and informed me, we all understand this information. I'm the spokesman for Scott tonight, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The letter that he's addressed to council addresses the process and the detail, but what's displayed in front of you is a summary of that entire analysis. It should give some context to the letter that he's provided to you. Scott does a tremendous job down in the details. So he has done this analysis at the individual level, looked at every single position that we have, and then has brought that back up into a higher representation that's on the information that you have today. It assumes that every position is funded and filled, so there's always a little bit of opportunities to have savings because we have vacancies, but the analysis is as if those positions are filled. It also, as it projects forward for the next 5 years, it assumes there are no new positions being added with the exception of the deputy chief. Sorry, chief, did I call that the right thing? The deputy chief position in fiscal year 28. So that has been included in the analysis. Scott appropriately makes the representation that a lot of our wage and wage related items run parallel, meaning if wages go up, overtime goes up, payroll taxes, those are all very similar rates of growth. The variability piece is in the benefits component of it, largely driven by healthcare. So with the sheet that's in front of you, really looking at the Fund 10 and the highway, streets and roads piece, as you compare our proposed 27 budget to 28, you see a $746,000 increase in wage and wage related costs in that year. That's a 7.4% increase, and that does include the deputy chief. So it's a little larger than we see in the remaining years. But as you go across that spreadsheet, you can see that it grows about 5.5% annually. That's total costs, but about $600,000 to $650,000 a year in our Fund 10 wage-related costs. Highway, streets, and roads, the same analysis, just at a smaller scale. They're about $50,000 to $60,000 a year increase year over year in this analysis. Enterprise funds, obviously, we treat differently. It has less restriction on our abilities to accommodate the revenue side of those operations. But nonetheless, we did analyze those, and they're the same, about that 5 to 5.5% increases between $230,000 and $275,000 a year. Questions about that so far? Does the analysis make sense of what we're trying to represent?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the question is, the funding of these, because we're only allowed so much each year.
That's,
And it's less than 5%.
um, that's part two of this conversation, but
Yeah.
to your point, Councilman, that's exactly the reason why we're looking at this projection. We know we have those limitations on general fund revenues.
Right.
And I think I've shared with you before, we need to figure out how to deal with the revenue pieces of this to be able to make up those deficiencies. And it's not going to be just in our 3% tax increase. The other piece that's not in here, but is in Eric's analysis is, and I just share this for reference, inflation is 3% and our ability to increase revenue is 3%. And so we really consume all of that revenue
Pretty much.
to maintain a level of service and provide the identical services that we have in the past. So there's a couple hurdles to overcome. I am confident that we will get there. And I've asked the council for a year, this coming year, to help us work through and identify what our opportunities are. Any questions about this spreadsheet at all, or what we're representing? Just so you know, page 3 is just a little more detailed. It's a fund by fund analysis, but is really the same content, just in a little more detail. So I think what's in that first spreadsheet is sufficient for us to understand the issue. Okay, concerns, comments, council? If not, we'll shift to phase 2 of this analysis that kind of brings the whole picture together. Eric, go ahead.
Okay, I think that I presented something similar to this a couple weeks ago, but I'll kind of review what I have here anyway. The top portion of this breaks down all the different funds, all the different sources of our governmental revenue that we get, from property taxes to sales taxes, highway, streets and road user revenue, all of that. And the current predictions that we're getting for 26 and 27, we've received from AIC, and those are pretty much, they're pretty good on their predictions. So those are what we're basing everything else off of to start with. As we go down the first couple rows of it there, we go into the 28 through 31 years. And I do have this created as a spreadsheet that I can have all the variables here. Everything that's in a bold box is something that I have a prediction variable we can change if we look at something different. Like the 3% under the property tax is what these are capped at this point, because we can't go any higher than that. And then historically, the franchise tax and the highway, streets and roads, liquor, and all those others, these are just kind of the averages they've had over the last 10 plus years that we were able to find data and look at. There are a couple of years that have outliers that threw things off. So this was just kind of the generalized average on those for what we could do. So this is best guess estimate for what those 5-year predictions will be as far as governmental revenue on the top portion of the page here. As we just kind of scroll around, on the left side, there's a 1.5% new construction annexation factor. This was just added in to try to figure that new construction roll, what it would add to it in addition to the 3%. And if I put it at the 1.5 right now, that's only about $120,000 to $130,000 in those first couple of years of this. So it's being conservative on that estimate, putting that into the numbers here as the calculations are formulated. Directly below that, all the different multicolor stuff along the left. This is just a condensed version of what we presented at the last meeting for the budget that we were going to publish. And it's just broke down to the revenue for the top portion of it, and then the expenditures at the bottom, totaling the 28.2 for the total for the budget for that. The trend issue to this, to look at it, is kind of on the chart here. As we look at that, we can see that the blue line going through the middle of it is representative of the taxes, the tax revenue that we're anticipating to receive during this time. The green is directly off of Scott's forms there on what the wages are going to be for just Fund 10 and Highway, Streets and Roads. Once
Fund,
you add,
Fund 10 is a new term.
Fund 10
Uh-huh.
covers all of the general governmental, including police,
Okay.
fire, building planning, parks, everything other than the enterprise funds,
Okay,
really.
okay.
Historically, we probably referred to it as general fund.
Yeah, just the general fund. So, yeah,
Got it.
Fund 10 equals the general
I
fund.
just want to make sure I understood.
So, yeah, the blue line represents the taxes that are going to be, are anticipating to be received. The green line represents what Scott had on the other pages there for wages related to those two departments, just the general fund, Fund 10, and highway, streets, and roads. Left the enterprise funds out of it because it skews everything quite a bit differently here. And then the red line or orange is once we add in operating expenses as well too. This is how much more it goes up over just the tax revenue for the next 5 years. The bottom left corner is the actual calculations there just to show that gap as it grows between them. But just kind of a representation of what we can try to predict over that time. Any
Council questions?
questions regarding what I have there?
We got some challenges.
Okay, well, I'm kind of at the disadvantage that Scott had because Scott went from, he has all the individual people's stuff and he built from that to the big and then created just the overview. I have the big overview and I have to find all the individual and then go back to make it sense in the different categories here. So I'm kind of struggling on some of them, but we're getting it.
Yeah. Well, I like what you've done. Gotta how to visualize this, but it's yeah, we gotta figure out something.
If I can, Eric, may I add
Sure.
just something for clarification? This analysis is, it doesn't include some of those one-time monies that we get, $285,000 from CDA to do the railroad crossing.
Mhm.
So we've left some of those variables out of this process and tried to do it based on what we know and what we realize are our secured sources of consistent revenues.
I think that's smart.
That,
Okay,
that may be true of the expense piece too.
what's that?
That, never mind. Forget I said that. Thank you, Eric. Unless there's any other questions or comments for Eric?
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I do have a question of council. If you'll allow me, our budget hearing is scheduled for August 12th. Currently, our council meeting, our normal council meeting on August 5th does not have any agenda items. Does the council want to have another conversation about budget prior to the public hearing, or are you okay going to the public hearing as your next step?
My personal opinion is I think if we had one more, I mean, we're all good with this right now. That would be just beating a dead horse.
Yeah, unless we can
Something new comes up.
tweak or find something that we haven't found already, I'm not sure there's a point.
Okay.
There won't be a decision
Right.
on the 12th. It will just be public hearing discussion. We always have a study session before that meeting, study session, or the meeting where you make a decision.
I'd say the study session would probably go better after the public hearing before we make a decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you have ample opportunity to
Mhm.
question staff and understand where we're at. I don't foresee there being any other big opportunities unless we choose to defund services. And I don't know how else to say that, right? I mean, the departments are all doing a tremendous job with the limited resources that they have, so.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of that would probably cause any changes would be at the legislative level. They decide to change something on or the way they do the taxes and the way they,
In future years, we may
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah, but there's
True.
nothing gonna happen this year on that.
Yeah.
That's done.
I think somebody was talking about a special session, but that's just rumor, so.
Okay, you tracking all that? Okay, so we may or may not have a meeting on the 5th, public hearing on the 12th, study session on the 19th. prior to a decision is what I heard. Okay. Thank you. Let's move to agenda item number 4, the community garden. This is a request of Councilmember Heiner. We'll let him lead this discussion.
A few weeks ago, we had a couple of people from the Pocatello, they work for Pocatello Portland Valley Partners organization. Brittany Hobson, I think you have some of this information there, basically a printout of their brochure. Brittany Hobson and Carl Pettit were there and presented what, to our Rotary Club, this public garden concept. We've got a little map. They've got some work in this. They've been working on this for a couple of years. And they actually, Pocatello has some property set aside. It's right by their, what is it? Their waterworks or public work anyway. And they're developing some parcels in there. They're trying to get this ready to plant come next spring. And it just seemed like a fantastic idea. And they mentioned, I wasn't aware of this, but mentioned, well, it's public parks like this is part of our strategic plan already in place. I thought, man, this is something that sounds like a really good idea. Bring neighborhoods together, bring people together. And like with Pocatello's, they already have most of these pieces, signed up, ready to go. And, I actually sat down and talked with the mayor about this, and part of that discussion came up with a map that we already have, kind of a garden plan in place. Well, if you have this.
Can you display that, Joey? Bill Glenn?
I mean, yeah, that right there. I mean, obviously, this was a plan presented, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
This is an updated version that we're
Updated
actually
version.
working with our Parks and Rec Advisory Committee on.
Yeah,
This is the well site, right?
yes.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
the well site park.
Well, site over where those townhomes have been
Mhm.
built over there. And then they're looking to build more in there, which actually makes it a perfect place to put something like this for these people that
Are in apartments.
are in those apartments and moving in there. And so my thought process was we ought to see if we can, I mean, and this group, this Portland Valley Partners, like I said, it's not necessarily a Pocatello organization, it's covers all, and they said they would be more than happy to help us, guide us, do whatever, if we wanted to, gather their help to kind of formulate, because they've done a lot of pre-work on this to get something going ahead, to help us kind of organize somewhat similar to what they're, and there's a lot of cities around that do this, apparently, that I wasn't aware of. And I just, and their plan to Portland Valley Partners, they've got half a dozen sites kind of in their mind to duplicate what they're doing there over and over and over a few times. And I think this is something that we could potentially do here over a time or two or three times as we move forward. And I think my idea, I guess, was just to get this in our heads and kind of thinking about this and see about how we go and move forward to this type of a community gardening park, because from what I understand, and I've talked to my son and his wife in Boise, they have a few of them up in the Boise area, my daughter down in Spanish Fork, and they do a lot of this kind of stuff. And it just brings neighborhoods, communities together, and they help each other out. And, like farmers markets and stuff like that, it almost becomes like your own little farmers market, and they're sharing back and forth and just bringing the groups together, and it really helps to build some community cohesiveness. That's what I thought was cool about it.
I like the idea of having it in conjunction with parks, not separate. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's great to have it. Like, that's something we could look at in the future as we design parks and build parks is.
Right.
I guess depending on the need of that area.
And the thing of it is, you know, we have to have access to water and power, and those things. And, you know, for a lot of years, we know we've had all these little pocket parks. And over the last couple of years, we've actually disposed of a couple of those. And this might be a halfway decent use if we could get the utilities there, or they're not too far away to do some of this stuff and put those properties to better use that the neighborhoods might buy in and say, okay, yeah, this is a good idea.
I would be curious, the ones that you know of, how do they, I guess, what's the security like? Because there's part of me that is like, oh, it'd be so cool to have these with our parks and in neighborhoods, but how do you keep like teenage kids out of them from going in and just trampling
I
stuff
know
and
that the
being-
Pocatello one,
dumb.
they're going to fence this in.
They fence it?
They fence
Okay.
it in, and those that are there, you get a code to get in and do it. And,
Okay,
yeah, there's gonna be some security there. There'll be lighting and stuff like that. And these right here, they pay, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks a year to,
okay.
have, and these are halfway decent garden spots.
So
that
we
people-
don't have the headache of
Yeah.
people calling the city or the police department because someone took their tomatoes or took their, you know. Okay,
And to a certain extent, they would kind of police it themselves, but
Community.
there is, I mean, they're putting fences around there, trying to make it secure.
okay, gotcha.
Because where this is located, it's kind of out there kind of by itself, but
Yeah.
people are coming from a pretty decent area around to use these gardens that don't have access to garden spots right now. I just thought it was a great idea. Yeah,
Mhm.
that I would like us to start thinking about
Mhm.
somehow. And I would say this, what's her name, Brittany Hobbs and Carl Pettit, they said they would be more than happy to come and visit with whomever we wanted to or need to, or give us some help, discussion, lead things around, or partner, participate with them, or have them participate with us.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just some guidance.
My only request too would be that as we develop a plan for this, we need to make sure that they are also aesthetic. I have seen community gardens that are like, they just look like a mess.
Sometimes
ghetto.
that is the case. I've seen those too, but I've also seen a couple
You've
that
seen
look pretty
good ones.
decent.
Cool.
Weeds and tomatoes. You've been looking at my garden?
I like it. Not your garden.
Hard not to miss it from the road.
Well, my garden this year is absolutely a joke. I've never had a garden so much of a failure ever in my life than this year's garden.
Okay, so it's not just.
Dan can't have a spot.
Yeah.
Well, I have one I have to deal with, and I'm trying to keep the weeds and all that of it. And so anyway, I've decided I'm just gonna let it do what it's doing. Next year, it's gonna be completely redone from the ground up. Minor, these boxes sit on top.
There you go.
So, got a silly question. So, on some of these, like the new developments, like say, for example, the one right north of, as I like to call it, with the Bible Belt, where Noah and all that, those streets are at, there's a new development going on, coming online with that one. Most of those are what, I think, if I remember correctly, zero line, or pretty close to zero line. What the developer was saying, they were low-cost housing to starter homes.
Right.
I don't remember right off the top of my head if there was any enough space for those folks actually to also do that. Possibly put a garden in there for their purposes. I wonder if that's would be an idea we could float with them. Does that make sense?
To have the development create its own community garden?
Not so much develop, but encourage the areas that they're gonna put in there. So, not so much, I don't wanna put ordinance or anything like that, but it's just we throw that idea out to them and see what they think as well.
Okay.
For the developments.
Dan, I don't,
It's gonna take a lot more discussion and
Yeah.
thought through things and how things look or
It
go.
could be really cool.
But, we started a year or two ago, like neighborhoods kind of doing their own cleanup and maintaining some of and it was we gave some awards away to 3 or 4 neighborhoods to do that.
Just by way of,
information, if you are utilizing park, impact fee for anything like this, it cannot be an area specific park. It's got to be it's got to be available to
Everybody.
If it's something that is
Can't dedicate-
secure, we cannot use impact fees for that.
No, you can't use
Can't.
impact fees and then say you have to live within this subdivision to use this.
Oh, gotcha.
It's gotta be community.
Okay, gotcha.
Probably, anyway.
That's all I have.
Great idea.
Great. Cammy, this is part of our conversation next week with the Parks Advisory Committee, right? We're gonna do another draft review of that plan. Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh.
Mhm.
They are an onboard group willing to take something and run with it, so.
I like this too. I just noticed on here, there's also an urban orchard.
Mhm.
It's kind of a cool,
The other piece that's on there that's new from previous plans is there's a pollinator garden. That is also a partnership opportunity that we have with the Fish and Game we've identified. I'm not sure why the Fish and Game has money for pollinators, but they do. And they would love to have an opportunity to create a pollinator garden. So that's a partnership that we're looking at.
where's that at?
Just above and to the right of that urban orchard. There's two walkways through there and
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay,
a little drainage swale through there, but
gotcha.
those are areas that would.
No, even above that, all that area.
potentially that use.
They built one of those that has some pictures. Pollinator done.
Okay,
Awesome.
we're all right? Dan, thank you.
Yes.
Good vision, good inclusion. Thank you. Council, we have before us the claims for July 15th, 2026. Any questions on the claims or discussion, or otherwise would entertain a motion?
I have reviewed the claims for July 15th as presented, and I would make a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
Got Roger as the second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Heiner,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Reese.
Yes. Thank you. For general announcements, council, I do have a couple items I just wanted to share with you. One, thank you for responding on the Simplot tour. We've been asked to participate in the Parade of Homes officially as judges this year. The piece that I need from council, if any of you are available, is the ribbon cutting for that event is at noon on August 13th. It's actually located at the new auto image that's going up here on Yellowstone, if you know where that is. I don't think they have their signs up yet, but the new Brady Carter's project.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be in Boise for some Blue Cross obligations that day, and I need a representative of council.
I will be there.
For
I
that.
usually go to all of them.
Okay? You'll represent us?
I've been going to them for years.
How long are they? How long is it?
Well, the that ribbon cutting and all that, it's not very long. I mean, probably half an hour, if that.
Okay, I can do that, but that's.
But then that starts the Parade of Homes, and then you go around and check them out. I know all of the builders, and a lot of them are friends of mine, and so I usually involved in that.
Super. I'm going to put you two down to represent us. I do think you may have to squeeze the scissors or do something on behalf of the city, but.
Yeah, we'll see.
The second is, and this is an invitation, every once in a while I get exposed to a really tremendous opportunity. And one of those was today, Mayor Dahlquist and I got to give the opening welcome speeches for the 2026 International Choral Festival that's happening. This was actually up at Pell Creek, the ski hill, beautiful up there this morning, a little bit of cloud cover. And then we got to listen to 2 or 3 of those groups perform, and amazing experience. So I would encourage you and encourage anybody else that you know to attend and participate. They start tomorrow night. There's 3 venues that they always perform in: the Stevens Performing Arts Large Theater. I've forgotten the name of the small theater there, but the second theater, the Bisline
Same theater.
the Biceline Theater, and then they do a noon concert on the quad at ISU for the next 3 days also. There's 7 choirs from all over the world. They had a choir there of young men from Lithuania, probably 30 young men that were just tremendous, really tremendous. So I'll work with Joey tomorrow to get us sharing that information on our social media, but council, I would encourage you if you have the opportunity to go. I think tickets are $10, really a worthwhile effort, and was a tremendous experience to be part of it. So encourage you to go. Anything from council in general announcements or report?
No.
That is fantastic. We will adjourn our meeting for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan, where was this, that repair parade homes at?
Pardon?